Hey, for goodness sake, fam. Welcome and welcome back. Your host, as always, Mesfin Teklu of the For Goodness Sake podcast. Hope you've had an awesome February since we last talked. I've had a pretty good one. Last time we spoke, or I spoke to you guys, rather, I told you a little bit of how I was struggling to kind of accomplish some goals that I wanted to do. Reading for pleasure, working out, and just creating some more meals that I was doing myself. And a month later, I'm better at them. I'm working out pretty consistently. Sometimes I still forget, or there might be a week where I still forget one time. So I still got more progress to make, and I'm reading a lot more. But as always, there's always more and more and more to read. The one goal that I'm failing on is drinking more water. That's my thing. I need to get more water in. In fact, I'll just take a sip here. Everybody should be drinking more water. We need more water. Water's great. But I'm excited. I'm making progress, and I'm struggling forward. I'm failing forward, and so I hope you guys are as well. Today's episode, I'm super excited about. It's something that I've struggled with as a person who wants to always be saying what I feel and saying whatever I want. And at the same time, not just saying it, but also being heard and really having people acknowledge what I say and listen to me. So it's about PC culture and politically correct culture, and kind of like the idea of us censoring ourselves due to like not wanting to offend somebody or for whatever other reason. And so I have an awesome quote that I'm really excited to share. It's something that's been a familial thing for me. One of my great aunts, who's, God rest her soul, she passed away probably 6 years ago now, 6 years ago or so. And she was like one of my my second mothers that I've been blessed to have in my life. Auntie Peanuts, shout out. Her quote was, "You can always tell someone to go to hell in a way that makes them look forward to the trip there." I love that quote. You can always tell someone to go to hell in a way that makes them look forward to the trip there. I like that quote so much because it really has provided a lot of opportunity for me to grow as a communicator. I like the ability to kind of say something that shakes everything up and gets everybody like, what the heck is this guy talking about? That's crazy. I remember saying things in high school in my, the accelerated classes where a lot of kids are very academically oriented, and I would, I'd say, in the words of the great philosopher Tupac Shakur, or the great poet, J. Cole, I would say things like that because it would be these like ironic statements. They wouldn't expect what I was going to say, and it would kind of get people to think at first, like, what the heck is this guy talking? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I would like the fact that I would have this difference of opinion from everybody else. And as I came out to California and I got into a college setting and into more intellectual discussions with people, I struggled to try and have those opinions and those differences of opinion that I had and those kind of disruptive sayings that I'd make accepted. I would have them like heard, and people would be like, okay, cool, you can have your opinion, I have mine, but I wouldn't have them internalized. People wouldn't change their opinions based off what I was saying. People wouldn't listen to me as much. And so it became a struggle of what I wanted to do, of like, do I conform with them, or do I stand my ground with my own opinion? Similarly, hate words, right? Words that carry really negative connotation and even prejudiced connotations that were very present in my upbringing was not something that I heard a lot out here in my current college in California. It was just a different culture. So words that in my friend group back home, growing up through middle school and high school, like the F word, that's a derogatory slang word toward gay people, or even the N word, derogatory word toward black people, which, both black people and gay people people in that group may have reclaimed those words, but generally outside of those groups, it's this like kind of hot topic issue, like, oh, can we say that? Like, well, if you guys say it, why can't we say it? And it doesn't even, we're not even saying it trying to each other, or to a person that is gay, or to a person that is black. So why can't we say it? If we're saying it to each other, why can't we say it? And that was one of the examples that I used. I had this big defense for a couple of reasons of why I wanted to use words that were specific. Let's say the F word. My friends had been saying it to each other probably since middle school, and for the stupidest reasons too. Like, there may be no reason to even call it, hey, what's up, friend A. Oh, what's up, the F word. And so it's just this like super colloquial, casual usage of the word that had nothing to do with anyone's actual sexuality or what we thought about their sexuality, if they would have been non-straight in any other deviation of that, that there may be from being non-straight. So to me, when I came out here and people had critiqued me for it, in a very casual way, I would be like, yeah, I've said the word, and why can't we? Like, who cares? Like, it's not a big deal. People would critique me for it, and I would have like this super big issue with the fact that they ignored the context of which I was saying the words, or with which people that I knew or cared about were saying the words. It's like they would just immediately jump to this label of like, oh, well, that's super homophobic. It's super homophobic. If somebody said the N-word, don't you think that would be racist? And I'm like, I mean, if they said it to somebody, that would be racist. Or, even if they're white or they're not black, like, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing in the world for them to do, but I don't think it's necessarily racist. That's what I would respond with, and that would not be received well. It's like, no, why would you allow them to say that? Why would that be a thing that's okay, acceptable, et cetera, et cetera? And so it put me at this crossroads where I would have these opinions, one of which being as a defense of like why I don't care if people say that word. It's like people have called me that the N-word to my face. I've had to deal with people in high school and earlier than that, actually, like much earlier than that even. Like people would say those words to my face, other classmates or older kids or whatever, and they would call me it, or they would just say it around me in a very derogatory way about other black people. And so because I had to learn to just let that go and not get myself suspended or kicked off a sports team or arrested for fighting them, or retaliating against them for saying that word, it allowed me to just say, whatever, you say those words, I don't care, you're your own person, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. So it forced me to or it allowed me to think everybody should just be okay with people saying words that are hurtful, as long as they're allowed to say the same things themselves. This free speech guarantee of like, if I can say whatever I want, fine, so long as, or if you guys say whatever you want, fine, so long as I can say whatever I want. I don't care. As long as you're going to do your thing, I'm gonna still do mine. You can't stop me from saying anything, since I have to deal with people saying words that I don't like. And it was that I was hanging on to this pain and this hurt of like, somebody's called me the N-word before, somebody's called me that word, or whatever other mean word I've heard that might be racist or might just be rude in any other way. So why is it that I can't be called, or can't go around saying these words, even within the context of them not being homophobic? Why can't I say whatever word I want, even when I'm not saying it in a racist or sexist or homophobic way? So that was a big crux of my issue. For a long time, I struggled to understand why I shouldn't just be able to say what I want, and have everybody just be okay with it and leave me alone about it. And what I realized over the past year, really, I've grown a lot over the past year in this department of communication, which was that I still can say whatever I want. In fact, that's what free speech is, largely. I mean, there's an extent, harassment or, hate crime or hate speech, and terroristic threats in certain places you can't say certain things, but largely we still can say whatever we want. And nobody's really gonna stop me from saying what I want. What I had to realize, though, is I can't just expect everybody to just be okay with whatever I'm saying. I can say whatever I want, but maybe not everybody's gonna like what I'm saying. And if I'm going to say something that I know people in general have a problem with or can be hurt by, I better get okay with the fact that if I say it, they're gonna be hurt by it. It's very simple logically. And what I also came to the conclusion of was, I don't want people to be hurt by what I'm saying. I really don't. And that's a personal opinion. That's a personal choice that I've made of like, when I say something, I don't want to hurt people. Even if I'm saying something that may hurt somebody because of the truth of it, I want to say it in a way that can help them understand what I'm saying and hurt them the least. I want them to understand what I'm saying the most that they can and hurt them the least by what I'm saying. And so that leads back to that quote of, I want to tell somebody to go to hell in a way that makes them want to go and be excited to go. I want them to see that whatever I'm saying has reasoning and has truth. And instead of being super offended by what I'm saying and ignoring that, I want them to maybe even disagree with what I say, but at least acknowledge the truth of what I say and hear my voice and my opinion when I say it. This is another problem with these terms, is that they have a lot of baggage. And so, like, if I'm just being rude about something and I'm trying to say something that I care about, that's one thing. Maybe people can sift through the assholeness that I have and get to the truth because I'm just being a jerk, But when we use terms like the F word, like the N word, other words that defame any other group, words that defame women or any other trans women or trans men, etc., any other group that has like a history of being persecuted and oppressed, we carry the baggage and the connotation of those words with whatever we say, even if we're not using it in the context that they were said, that created that baggage. So if I'm saying the N-word, even as a black person, and somebody overhears me saying the N-word, I'm carrying with my speech the baggage and the connotation of that horrible word, even if I'm saying it in a way of like, hey, what's up, my N-word, in a way that's completely different from the terms that it was used when it was created. People hear that and it puts them off, and it puts them in a different state of mind than they would if I would have used a different word. If I would have used a word like my friend, my brother, etc., my fellow human being on this planet. What I realized is that if I want people to hear what I'm saying the most, I want them to understand me as much as they can and as closely to whatever I'm trying to say as possible, then I have to use words that are gonna put them in a state of mind that I want them to be in, not in a state of mind that is gonna make them have prior thoughts about what I'm saying or how I am as a person or what I mean. I want them to understand me based off what I'm saying and the words that I use that closely represent what I'm saying as possible, not words that have different baggage and different connotations and prior meanings and everything that can shift what I'm saying and the attention of what I'm saying into those words and not into what I mean. I can't control the prior connotations that people have about the same things that I say in general. I can't control the prior connotations that people have about their perceptions of me in general. But I can control that if there's words specifically or actions in general that when they're done to another person, or phrases even, when they're done to another person, it forces them to kind of think a certain way. And it's maybe not all people, but it's like if I know that this happens for some people, I would rather be more articulate. I'd rather do the work of using my vocabulary and my communication skills, of using that to nail down what I'm really trying to say, nail down the point of what I'm trying to say even more, so that it's so much clearer what I mean and what I'm trying to say, and then tell them, rather than allow myself to be kind of lackadaisical in my thoughts and my speech and just say whatever comes out of my head, which is a huge problem for me, as I'm a super irrational person sometimes in the way I speak. Sometimes I have a little, just the tiniest self-control problem, and I allow myself to just say whatever I think at the time. And that's not always smart, because that's not always representative of what I really feel. It might be some truth of it, but it can be covered up by the fact that it's just like this irrational blurting. It doesn't get to the true meat and potatoes of what I'm trying to say. When I say what is a complicated thought or a nuanced position on something with very articulate words that I've taken the time to think through and process and flesh out my full thoughts on, it tends to be that I can actually be received more. People accept what I'm saying more, and they understand me, and they actually see me as a human being more. And then they end up tending to not try to fight me on anything that I'm saying, because they understand that that's just my opinion. For instance, like the example of me saying that I want to say the F word because other people have called me the N word. As I moved away from that, saying the F word and using that as my experience of being called the N word as a defense for that, and I just started explaining to people in my life, even the same people that argued against me and told me that that's sexist or homophobic, and that I had to stop saying it or I was going to be a homophobe. Yes, they ignored context, and that's true. Context is very important, and when we address PC culture of trying to censor people based off like whether or not they're being hateful, we need to understand that first of all, we should all be able to say what we want. Second of all, that doesn't mean that we have to like everything we say, and if we want to ignore somebody or even just say, hey, this guy's being mean because of that, so I'm gonna let my friends who I know can be sensitive to these things, I'm gonna let you guys know not to really converse with this person. If you really want to do that, you can do that. Without that doesn't violate anybody's freedom of speech. But I think also we should be very cognizant of the context in which people say things. And that was being ignored. That is an issue that kept me from growing myself, because I was like, well, they're ignoring what I'm saying. Well, when I started moving away and talking to people that I used to argue about this topic with, I started being more articulate, and I started saying, well, I'm not saying that because I don't want to hurt people. And I know I've hurt you guys, and I'm sorry for hurting you guys because I didn't mean to. All I wanted to say was that I've had to deal with people saying this to me, and it hurt me so badly. But once I realized that they don't have power over me, and if I just ignore it and don't let it bother me, or at least allow it to bother me enough to like process it, and then start to realize how ignorant they are, and it's just a product of their own self-hate and their own uncomfortableness within themselves, then I was able to grow. And so that's why I wanted to say the word, because I want people to understand that you can grow even if somebody says that word, that you can't allow other people to have that power over you. And also, the context in which I said it was very important. And I don't like how I was grouped in together into this giant lump of homophobic people when I wasn't being homophobic. I was just saying something to my friends, and that's just the context of which we were saying it. Didn't have the same homophobic meanings in the context that some people have used it and some people have heard it. And when I explained it like that, and I articulated myself, and I put in the work to say, I don't care if I'm censoring myself, I'm gonna try and be nice. I'm gonna try and tell somebody how I feel in the way that allows them to hear me and allows myself to be heard. They actually heard me. They actually started to say, okay, well, I see why you say that. It's just like, it's very hard to hear those words. Some people, they trigger them for different time periods when they were, being abused or bullied by them, and the words were used against them, et cetera, et cetera. And so not only did I have my own experience and perspective heard more than ever before, than when I was using it and just like saying, well, whatever, I can say whatever I want. I actually was hearing somebody else's perspective even more too. It was incredible, and it still is incredible. I grow in friendships with people who are more timid, because instead of me feeling like, oh, well, you just don't like me because I'm loud and I like to, I'm too aggressive, in the words of Kanye, I like to just express how I feel, and you just, you're thrown off by me and my whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm just being naturally me. Instead of being like that and being upset about it, I've just learned that other people can be uncomfortable for certain things, and by articulating myself in a way that makes them comfortable as well, by acknowledging that person and saying, I can explain my same exact opinion in a way that's not screaming and freaking out as I'm known to do sometimes. And when I do that, that person has, in many cases that I've now had many friendships grow like this, that person listens to my perspective and understands me. And then they become more comfortable with me, so that when I am, pop, 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 I'm racing and my excitement gets the best of me and I get a little bit more ostentatious and excitable, they're more okay with it. It actually helps me. I learn more about them, they open up, they feel more comfortable around me, so they tell me more about themselves, and I learn their experience, and then they become more comfortable with me, and I'm allowed to express myself more authentically. And that didn't happen because I just said, oh, well, screw them, I'm going to be however I want to be, because I can, and that's my First Amendment right, or whatever amendment right, and I can do that, so I'm just going to. That didn't happen like that. Instead, if I would have done that, they would have just turned away and they would have just said, you do you over there and I'm going to do me over here. Instead, by just being a little bit more attentive and putting a little bit more work into how I say things and what my actual opinions are so that I can be more direct in them, I actually have grown my relationships with this process. So this video is just about understanding that PC culture can be a little bit much sometimes. I understand it can be annoying that people can automatically lump you into different groups by saying different words that mean a totally different thing for you, and they don't even ask questions. They can kind of just get to that tribal behavior. I feel you. However, I think the point of PC culture is to try and make people more comfortable going forward in society and any day-to-day interaction with people. And I think that while we should and do have the right to say and do pretty much whatever we want, and I'm not trying to change that in any way, I think that we should understand that we can say exactly what we mean and exactly what we feel and exactly what we think in a way that's just a little bit more effective and actually more beneficial to our goal of having people hear us and see us and feel what we mean. And if we want that, if we actually want to be heard and seen and understood, then we should say it in a way that doesn't just immediately put people off right away. It doesn't immediately make people want to ignore us right away. Not because we have to, not because somebody's forcing us to, but simply because we know that it is just more effective and that it makes people feel better and that there's no reason to intentionally make people feel bad. So that's my my word on PC culture. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm really excited. I hope you guys also noticed that I have some other videos up right now about my meal prep. We're going to continue to post some more meal ideas that are cheap, easy, eco-friendly. A lot of them is going to be vegetarian or vegan. I'm a little bit on the vegan path right now, but I'm not there fully yet, so I also have some vegetarian options fully. But all the ingredients are fully available to your discretion, and you can change them up how you like. I just want to give you guys some options on how to make some more sustainable and healthy in general, nutritious and cheap options to do those. So please keep an eye out for videos that are coming up. I'm really excited for what we have planned. For goodness sake, you guys are awesome. I'm hoping to just reward you for your guys' diligence and dedication to me in my early stages. I'm really excited. So thanks always for supporting. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff to give me some more love. I really appreciate it. And till next time, I really love you guys. Take care.